Right now, Mark Carney and David Eby and the BC government just agreed to spend $3.2 billion to stop condo prices from falling in BC. And while every other video online is screaming bailout or corruption or I hate Carney, almost nobody's answering the one question that actually matters. What does this do for you, your numbers, and your pocketbook and real estate holdings? Because depending on which of four groups you're in, this either just handed you a relatively good opportunity or it's about to cost you $60,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000. Forget the outrage, forget the drama. Let's take a look at numbers and the math and how this is going to affect you. One of four groups watching this could potentially be making a mistake that could cost them anywhere from $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. So here are the rules. We're not doing rate predictions. We're not doing political outrage or political commentary. It's just math and what this means for you on the ground in BC. Four groups. Group 1, renters and first-time buyers. Group 2, current condo owners. Group 3, anyone who bought a presale back in 2021. And Group 4, well, everyone outside of Vancouver. Find your lane and stay in it until you get an understanding of how this is going to affect you. I'll make sure to put timestamps down below depending on where you're at so you can skip to that part in the video too. Okay, first off, here's the whole thing in like 40 seconds because the mechanics matter less than what it's actually going to do to you. Carney and Eby put $3.2 billion towards one problem. Across BC, developers built thousands of condos that are not selling. Some of that money buys up unsold units, some props up developers so they don't have to slash prices. Strip away the politics, and here's the only thing you need to remember for the rest of this video. It's a floor. The government just put a floor under condo prices to stop them falling. And a floor changes the math for each of those four groups completely differently. Good news for some, a trap for others, and for one group, literally nothing at all. Let's start with the biggest group, Group 1. Group 1 is the renters and first-time buyers. Here's your situation, and what I think you might have been doing, right? You might have been waiting for prices to crack, waiting for this big correction that everyone has promised on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and said that is well on its way. And here's the trap within that. That correction is exactly the thing that this $3.2 billion is designed to cancel. Let me show you the math on waiting. And instead of guessing, let's run some real numbers. So let's say you're looking at a BC condo at around $500,000. Renting a comparable unit could cost you $2,400 to $3,000 a month. Owning that same unit, mortgage, strata, taxes, lands you closer to $3,800 to $4,000 a month right now. So month to month, renting still technically wins. That's real. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but you weren't waiting to save money. You were waiting for prices to drop. If you're holding out for prices to fall another 7%, roughly what TD floated, that's about $35,000 on a $500,000 unit. That's your prize for waiting. But this bailout is engineered specifically to stop the 7% from happening. So you could wait 12, 18 months for a discount the government is actively spending billions to make disappear. The math doesn't care about the headlines, it cares about the mechanics. And the mechanics say that this stops price reductions. So here's your move right now. Your decision isn't buy now or keep waiting. It's recalculating whether that discount you're waiting for can even exist in the future. For a lot of you, the floor just deleted that. And that changes everything about your timeline. Now, if you already own one of these condos, the same floor is doing something completely different to you. So let's get into Group 2, which is current condo owners. Now, here might be your situation. Your first reaction is probably relief. The government is propping up prices, so your value is protected. And partly you're right. If you've been watching units in your buildings list and sell for less than you paid, this floor slows that bleed. But here's the trap. The floor under prices is not the same as prices going up. This money stops the fall. It doesn't start a boom. What you're actually looking at is a slow, agonizing crawl sideways because affordability in BC is still stretched pretty far. One would say to its limits. The government can stop a crash, but it can't make condos affordable again overnight. So if your plan was, I'll wait until my condo bounces back to what I paid and then I'll sell, that bounce, well, it may not come for years. This is a total standoff. You're back in that Mexican standoff situation. You don't want to sell into a flat market and take a loss, but buyers won't overpay for a unit that's going nowhere. So nothing moves and the listings go stale. Now, here's what I would recommend as a move for you. Be honest about your timelines. If you need to sell in the next year, price to what the market is at today, which is flat, not to what you bought into at. Chasing the old numbers is how your listing is going to sit there for 90, 100, 120 days and sell for less than what you wanted anyways. Now, the group this 3.2 billion does the absolute least for is the one quietly panicking and the one that no one is talking about anymore, which I find kind of funny. And that's people who bought a pre-sale condo back in 2021. And if you did buy a pre-sale condo in 2021, watch the whole section. Here's the situation. Back in 2021, you signed a contract at 2021 prices, say $600,000. It's only finishing construction now. And here's the trap, and it's not your fault. When you go to close, the bank sends an appraiser out, or an appraisal needs to be ordered, and they value the unit at today's price, let's say $540,000. That creates a $60,000 gap, and that's the problem. The bank only lends against the $540,000 appraised value of the property, but your contract still says $600,000. You have to cover the $60K in cash now, on top of your down payment and closing costs. And this bailout is aimed at developers sitting on unsold inventory. You already bought, you locked in. This $3.2 billion doesn't touch that appraisal gap. You get nothing. It really virtually doesn't help you at all. So here's your move. Being stuck in this gap is not the same as having no options at all. There are three. Option one would be to not accept the bank's first appraisal or not accept that first appraisal. Now, brokers, bankers, and appraisers are going to hate you for this, but an appraisal is technically a very well-rounded estimate, and they can be disputed with recent comparable sales. I've seen gaps shrink by tens of thousands just by challenging the appraisal with better comps. Now, one thing I will say is when you are working with an appraiser, if you are working with a broker or a banker, ask them who they're using, ask them who they recommend. I have an appraisal company that I've worked with for years and years, and I love them because I don't have to worry about challenging it. He's always got his fingers on the pulse. He's always looking for those comparables to make sure that the value is exactly where you need to be. He's pushing as hard as he can to get it to where we need it to be based on what's available. And if more comparables come up while he's working on it, he'll take a look at them. He'll factor that in. So working with a really good accredited professional or someone with some history or someone who just really knows what they're doing with an appraisal can be incredibly valuable in these scenarios. Now, move two, which is about shorter than my recent ramble, is the cash shortfall doesn't have to come the way that you assume. There are structures, secured lending against other assets, properly documented family gifts if required, lender programs built specifically and exactly for scenarios like this that can bridge that gap without touching your savings. It just depends on which one fits your situation and whether it actually works. And if it doesn't, that's where we move into, well, one of the hardest options, which is option number 3. You run the math on walking away versus closing. Honestly, sometimes losing the deposit is cheaper than closing on a unit that's deeply underwater. Sometimes it's absolutely not. But you make that call based on the numbers, not based on headlines and your emotions. The presale gap feels like a wall, and really, it's not. It's a problem with 3 real exits depending on your numbers and where you're at. Because hope isn't a strategy here, and neither is panic. And if you're in that exact spot and don't know which move fits you, that's literally the math we run every single week. And that leads me into one thing I want to say about working with us before I go into group number 4. If you want help mapping specific numbers, whichever those numbers may be, there's a link in the description below. There's no pressure, there's no sales pitch. I just want to provide clarity and understanding to help people not make mistakes with real estate and mortgage transactions. I've been doing mortgages for over 15 years. My father, who founded this company, was doing it for 36, and we have about $2 billion in active mortgage management right now, where we work with customers not only attaining a mortgage, but helping them manage it. So if you want us to adopt your mortgage or adopt your numbers and help you with some ideas, that link's down below. Now, let's get into group 4, which is essentially everyone outside of Vancouver. Here's the situation for this. Every other video is Vancouver, 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 Vancouver. If you're in the Fraser Valley, on the island, or up in the Okanagan or Kelowna, you've been told that this is a Vancouver problem, not your money, not your market. And here's the trap, the half of the equation that they're missing. Markets in BC don't move in isolation. They move independently, yes, but not isolated from one another. When Vancouver condo prices are artificially held up by a floor, it changes the spread between Vancouver and everywhere else. For years, people priced out of Vancouver did the same thing. They looked outward. They looked at Abbotsford, Langley, Vancouver Island, the Okanagan even. That outflow is part of what drove local prices up in those areas. And by putting a floor on these condo prices, well, affordability is still stretched so high, well, that $3.2 billion keeps Vancouver condos from getting cheaper. That pressure to look outward doesn't ease, it stays on. The affordability gap that pushed people into your market doesn't close, and that demand stays in your backyard. So if you're a first-time home buyer or someone looking to get into the market or to buy a home, it's not helpful. If you're someone who owns a home, who's thinking, okay, I want to see my value go up and try and sell in the future, this could actually be really helpful for you because it's going to put pressure on those prices, bringing more people into your market, pushing the prices up. So here's the move. And it's the opposite of what you've been told. Don't tune out, tune in. The fact Vancouver is being propped up is exactly why your local market doesn't get a relief valve either. You're not unaffected. You're affected one step removed through where everyone else decides to buy. And that is the full picture. 4 groups, 1 announcement, 4 completely different sets of numbers in effect. Here's the one thing to take away. The $3.2 billion isn't a bailout or a corruption story. At least that's not the part that's going to affect you. It's a floor. And a floor helps some people, traps others, and quietly changes the math for everyone else in BC. The people who lose $40, $50, $60, $100,000 because of these sort of changes aren't the ones who got angry about it. They're the ones that never figured out which group they were in and how this is going to affect them. Now, if you want to understand how this might affect you, I'm open to chatting about it. You can put your questions in the comments down below. You can use that link to book a call with me. As mentioned, we're happy to help. It's no pressure, no sales, just clarity. My name is Myles Nowik, owner of the Nowik Mortgage Team, powered by Indy Mortgage. If you got value out of this video, maybe hit that like and subscribe button so more people like you can see it, and we'll catch you on the next one.